What up, everybody? It is so hot outside. It is so hot in the studio right now. I am sweating bullets. Hayden is sweating bullets.
I'm double pitted up.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on with the studio AC today, but we both walked into the studio and it was like a good 82 degrees. So
Thank God my AC is working now.
just be happy that you're not sitting in the studio with us right now because we both probably fucking reek.
Oh, yeah.
But shout out to everyone that's here with us today. It's episode 158. Incredible episode. We're recording this intro after we've already recorded the episode, and I'm going to be honest, this might be one of my favorite episodes that we've done.
Me too, man.
Definitely one of my favorites from this season because this guy is so interesting. He's so just like open about everything that he's been through, and you guys are in for a treat. So stick around. We sat down with Tom Simon this week.
Super cool.
Ex-FBI investigator, private investigator now, absolute legend, bro.
Oh, yeah.
But how's everything been with you?
Man, life's been good. I can't really complain. I got some stuff going on this week. Which
I know we're not really doing win of the week right now, but shout out to my boy Hayden for getting me a Moment phone case with the fisheye lens. Y'all are about to see so much content from me. It's going to be fucking annoying. So
I've been seeing them for a couple of years now. I got the case, and I bought myself a case, and I bought you the case and the lens.
Oh, no, I was like, why don't you
I don't even have the
yet?
lens yet, but...
So for the ones that don't know, and this is not free promo for Moment or whatever, but it is a really cool product. It's basically a phone case where you can like attach these different lenses, and I've seen stuff like this before, but this is like legit, like it's an actual, you know, high quality company doing it.
It's not Temu version. It's like heavyweight.
I used to use the like fisheye clip. Like there was a little clip and you could put it on your camera. And with the old phones, it worked great because there was like one camera and it was perfect. But now with the three, you know, there's like three different lenses on the thing. It doesn't even fit on half of them and whatever. And I've been dying to get like a real good fisheye camera. But dude, with you getting me this case, man, I'm like so stoked.
I'm excited for you.
In prep for the birthday, you know what I'm saying? So
I figured since I'd give it to you now, one, because we got stuff shaking. I want you to have it for your birthday, but also like this will probably come out probably a week from now. So it'll be
true. That's
your
facts.
birthday.
Well,
So-
I can't thank you enough, bro.
Yeah, happy
Seriously,
birthday.
Like you
Shout
are
out to Nick.
you
Happy
are the
birthday. He's an
man.
old man.
Hey, man, shout out Juneteenth, because whenever this
Shout
episode
out.
comes out, I'm trying to think, Juneteenth is on a Friday. So, yeah, the day after this episode drops, it's Juneteenth. So, if you guys are watching this during Juneteenth, shout out.
Shout out.
Is there anything we need to talk about? I mean, I'm trying to think. This week's been pretty
I'm so
lax
excited
for
to
me.
let like people hear this conversation. It was actually one of the ones that's like I could have kept going with the questions, but I just had to tell myself to shut up. Like,
You had some very profound questions in this one. I'm going to be honest. Like sometimes there are certain guests where like, you know, either you're more talkative or I'm more talkative, depending on what the topic is or whatever is going on with the type of guest. But with this one, bro, some of your questions were super fire. And one thing that I want the audience to know, I mean, everyone that's been watching this pod for a long time already knows this, but we don't really do preset questions. Like it's really all off the dome. We let the conversation go wherever the conversation wants to go. And it's better like that because it just feels like you're grabbing lunch with some of these guests, you know? And
I typically grab like 3 one-word phrases that I just want to remind myself to, just because I'm so ADHD and my brain moves so fast. And whenever you are having conversations with people, you kind of think of something and you don't want to butt in and just jump to the chase because it's a podcast and you kind of have to let them kind of finish what they're talking about. But sometimes the transition in topics can be funny. So I try to just 1-2, things, but like you said, we typically don't plan, have more of an organic, conversation, and today's went really well.
I feel like me and you were curious enough to where we're always going to have a question. Like, even though, Tom just left, we still have a million questions that we could have asked him. I'm so grateful that he came on and was just so open about everything. I'm grateful that he's alive, bro. Honestly, some of the stories he's telling, I'm like, bro, like our jaws are on the floor. Like, it's insane. So shout out to Tom for coming through. So blessed to have him on the podcast. And we're just going to go ahead and jump right into this one and let you guys enjoy this conversation. So shout out to everyone that's here. We love you guys. Let's do it.
Happy birthday, Nick.
Hey. What up, OGs, and welcome back to another episode of the OG Sessions Podcast, episode 158, going down right now. Of course, I'm here with my brother Hayden Fenwick. How you doing, baby?
Great.
I'm excited about today's episode.
yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the man himself, Tom Simon.
It's so good to be here. I was telling you off the air, I'm a huge fan of your show. You guys have something really cool going on, and it's going to be such a pleasure watching you blow up.
Dude, I appreciate that,
We're
man.
honored.
Seriously, yeah, honored for real, especially coming from you, man. You've done so many cool things yourself, and like I'm excited to get into this, for real.
Yeah, ask me anything. I'm here for you.
So honored to have you as a guest today. Let's go ahead and break down for the people who Tom Simon is. I know private investigator, you have a ton of like history with the FBI and stuff, but let's break it down.
Yeah, so my name's Tom Simon. I live here in Jacksonville. I was an FBI special agent for 26 years in Chicago, Honolulu, and then I finished out the last 6 years of my special agent career in Jacksonville.
Wow.
The office right there on Gate Parkway, investigating crimes, busting bad guys. And then I retired in 2021 and opened up a private investigative agency, Simon Worldwide Investigations. And so now I'm a private investigator. In order to make that a success, instead of like buying Google ads or going door to door saying, want to buy an investigation, I started doing social media videos. And I make a 2-minute true crime story from an FBI perspective every single day on social media and post it on all the, TikTok, Instagram, et cetera, as Simon Investigations. And over time, that's grown, and it's given me opportunities to do television and podcasts like this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you definitely, I mean, you mentioned going to Honolulu, Chicago, so you've been all over with the FBI.
Yeah, I've been assigned to 3 different offices as my home base, but the FBI puts you on the road a lot conducting investigations, so I've kind of got to see the world and let you, the taxpayer, pay for it.
That's awesome. So how do you get into something like that? How does one become an FBI agent, or did you have an interest in stuff like this when you were younger? Like, were you a big Sherlock Holmes guy? Or?
Yeah, no, it's funny you should mention that. I was always sort of a bookish little nerdy kid, and I think that probably, whether it's comic books or action movies or novels that I read growing up, the idea of being a FBI agent just seemed to really appeal to me. I didn't want to have just a normal desk job. And I also wanted to have a job that when I'm an old man like I am now, I could kind of look back on it and answer the question, did my life matter?
Oh, for sure.
And so sort of everything I did from like as a young teenager through age 25 was sort of geared toward making myself a good candidate for the FBI. I avoided drugs and didn't really party or get in trouble with alcohol or anything like that. I got good grades. Even though I had no real interest, I was told at the time that a good major to major in college was accounting, and so it was miserable, but I majored in accounting to please the FBI.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I became an FBI special agent when I was 25 years old, I was about the youngest agent in America. The average starting age of an FBI agent is 30, and then it was just sort of Katie bar the door from there, just kind of rushing forward, having a blast.
What is that interview process like when you're interviewing for the FBI? And
It's horrible, Nick.
I can only
have applied,
imagine.
actually.
No way.
Did you really?
I did.
How'd it work out for you, Hayden?
It didn't work out for me.
That's why he's here.
Which step of the process?
As soon as they asked me about my previous marijuana usage, I come from a cannabis background,
Sure.
and I used to work in that field. So as soon as I got to that question, I was like, well, I'm out.
What year was that?
It was 4 years ago.
Okay, yeah, because it's gotten more reasonable. When I went through the process, they had this weird thing where they wanted to know how many times in your life you had smoked weed. And I know you guys will be surprised to learn that pot smokers don't necessarily keep a log of every time they smoke weed. Right. So they've since changed it and made it more reasonable that they just don't want you to have smoked weed in the past 12 months. And then you're good.
Yeah.
And anything harder than that, it's like 10 years, if you're using something else.
Why do you think that is? Like that you've experimented with drugs? Is it just because it's illegal and you've like broken the law essentially?
We're in this stupid situation, Nick, where it's legal in many states, like Florida with restrictions if you got a doctor, but it's still a Schedule I federally illegal narcotic, right? And so, and the FBI is a federal agency, and so it's just kind of tough to get away from that. I wish the first solution would be for Congress and the president and the states to get together and have one set of laws for the legalization of marijuana nationwide, instead of making people play cat and mouse games depending on if you're in Colorado versus Alabama, right?
Yeah.
Someone's a criminal in Alabama, but they're cool in Colorado. That just makes no sense.
Yeah, because that's one thing that's very interesting because, I just went on a trip to Colorado and like I was, kind of thinking twice about what I could and couldn't do there because of a job that I have in Florida, which is a really weird situation because it's like if you go to Colorado, you're not breaking any laws by smoking
Does your
pot.
job test?
Yeah, they do test.
Yeah, so it's a difficult situation to be in, isn't it? Yeah, and so, but it wasn't an issue for me. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry that derailed you, Hayden. I think you could have been an excellent agent.
He would have been a good agent.
I
That's
know.
the thing. He's really got like the mind for it. Like
I like investigative stuff, and like becoming a cop and doesn't seem like my cup of tea. I want to help people in life.
Oh, no,
And-
I'm running
and
if you pull me over for
right?
show.
But FBI kind of was like, it's more in depth. It's more, I don't know. I guess
It's also such a more badass title. Like,
Exactly.
let's be real. Like, if you're a cop, like, it's cool to some people, but it's not cool to everybody. Like, being an FBI agent is cool to pretty much everybody except for, like,
Yeah.
the most wanted, you know?
Well, I'm not going to denigrate the police on your show, but yeah, it's I would say the job of an FBI agent is very similar to being a big city police detective in many ways, and but better resourced, maybe bigger cases,
Absolutely.
depending on the city you're in, stuff like that.
What's your niche? Do you have like a certain area within
Yeah,
investigating?
Because I majored in accounting, Hayden, they don't hire people like me because we're fun to be around. So my thing is mostly financial crimes,
Okay.
white collar crimes, con artists, embezzlers, people who steal from their employers, big dollar thefts, Ponzi schemes, investment frauds, and things like that. But what happened is, I didn't work the biggest cases in the FBI. I wasn't the best agent, but I worked a lot of cases, right? So at any given point, I'm juggling 25 cases, and I'm churning through them really fast. So what happened is I got really, really good at interview and interrogation. I was the guy I became, because of the 10,000 hours I did getting confessions from people, the guy that people started bringing in on their cases to land the confession, which would make or break the case. And so that became kind of fun because I got exposed to lots of other different types of cases that maybe I wasn't the case agent on it, but I was like the closer in a baseball game.
Cool. Wow. See, that's really interesting. Yeah, you got to probably have a certain set of skills to be like that last guy to go in there and really make it happen. Because, I mean, I'm sure a lot of these guys are kind of prepping for it too. Like the criminals themselves, they're probably like, if I get caught, what am I going to say? Or what's the, out going to be?
And it's fascinating to me from just sort of a behavioral science perspective, how similar people are, whether they were somebody who like murdered their wife versus a bank teller who started helping themselves to their teller drawer. It's the same psychological tactics work on both of them.
Do you ever use those skills like in day-to-day life
Yeah.
too? Like when you're talking to people, can you sometimes like kind of read through the bullshit a
Yeah, I
little
got
bit better?
kids. So when my daughter was 5 years old, I had to interrogate her and land a confession. I made the case.
Nice. Yeah, it seems a little easier on a 5-year-old.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
to flex your muscles.
Master negotiator, probably.
Yeah, and again, hostage negotiation is a kind of a different skill set, a different subset, as is being a profiler. And so there's lots of kind of side hustles you can do when you're an FBI agent, and mine was interview and interrogation. I also did media relations for the FBI, so in various offices that I was in, when they needed to push somebody in front of the camera on the courthouse steps, I was the guy. And I did undercover work. It was certified undercover, and also hiring agents. I probably hired about 1,000 agents in my life.
Oh, that's awesome. What was your first case whenever you joined the FBI?
Oh gosh, it's kind of a long story, but my first squad that I was on was a bank fraud squad, but there was a new agent squad that I was on for 6 months, where they kind of rotated you around the different areas and had you like go out to a bank robbery, go out to a kidnapping, go out and kind of investigate different things. And so I had a fugitive case, kind of an impossible fugitive to catch, and I was assigned that case, and I was able to kind of outsmart the guy and catch him.
Really? Yeah. How did that go? Are you allowed to share a lot of that?
I can share it, but it's like a 20-minute story. I don't want to make people fall asleep with this old man telling long-winded stories. But the bottom line is he was a fugitive in Chicago, had run away to Mexico, and but back in the day, he was like this really famous tango dancer. And so I did an undercover operation where I pretended to be a documentary film crew who wanted to fly him back to Chicago to be on a documentary hosted by famous actor and tango dancer Robert Duvall. And I was able to trick him and send him a plane ticket and have him fly back. I'm standing there at the airport with the guy's name. He comes out. I put my hand in his hand, put it behind his back, and put the cuffs on him. So,
wow.
So that was sort of so throughout my career, I think that's what I kind of brought to the table, was sort of a more creative way to look at some of these investigations, whether it's getting the confession to kind of speed up or to kind of use undercover tricks and ruses to get information that I wouldn't get otherwise, or would have slowed me down.
What were your nerves like on that first case? Like when you saw him coming down, the escalator or the hall or whatever?
I was definitely nervous, but I was more nervous about having to go back to the office with my tail between my legs, saying that I had spent $400 on a plane ticket and the guy ripped us off.
True, yeah. And is there a plan in place for if things go south? Like if he tries to run right there, do you have agents with you?
Well, you're in an airport, right? So you know that he's not armed. And this was pre-9/11, where you can actually meet someone at the end of the jetway. You guys are young, but back before 9/11, you could go all the way to the jetway where the person got off and hug your family members there. You didn't have to wait on the other side of security.
I gotcha.
So I was like right there to give the guy a big sloppy kiss when he got off the plane.
God, that's got to be the worst feeling, man. Like you're a criminal on the run, and then you're not expecting it, but then that moment clicks.
How dare you have empathy for the criminal and not just worship me as the hero of the story? You missed the point entirely.
You are the hero, but I can only imagine, dude. Like you're on the you got outsmarted. Yeah. You got outsmarted in that situation. That's crazy. Yeah. Was there any cases in particular that stood out to you where you were like, somewhere they maybe not haunt you to this day, but like,
Oh, yeah,
you're
there's
like,
cases that haunt me to this day for sure. The ones I didn't solve. Yeah.
oh, there is some you didn't
Yeah,
solve.
there's murders I didn't solve. There's fugitives I didn't catch, and I sit up at night now as an old man, retired, still wishing that I could get back in the fight.
Can you share any of those? Is there some
Yeah,
stories?
yeah. You want a sad one or a fugitive one?
Let's do a fugitive one.
All right. So there were a pair of fugitives in Hawaii when I was a special agent named John and Julianne Demetrian, and they were basically ripping off people's homes. They had a mortgage company, and they were telling people who were distressed homeowners who were facing foreclosure that they had the ability to rescue them from the foreclosure process and allow them to stay in their homes. So what they were doing is basically having the homeowners quit claim deed to basically transfer ownership of the home to John and Julianne, who then sold the house to other people out from under them. And the victims were put out on the streets, lost their homes, and John and Julianne got rich, like filthy rich, like matching Maseratis, fancy outfits. They're very active in their evangelical church. And so we did a case against them, and they pled guilty. In the federal system of criminal justice, boys, it's more humane than the state system. They mostly, after you plead guilty, they say, okay, go home, get your act together, come back in 90 days for your sentencing. And during that 90-day period, they disappeared.
Of course.
We show up to their sentencing, and they're gone. And then we begin looking at the flight manifest, who saw them last and all that, and there was no indication that they took a commercial flight. Oahu, where we lived, is an island. There's no train you can take. You can only drive so far. So it's a real mystery for us to solve. We ended up finding out through investigation that they had fallen in with a domestic extremist group here on the U.S. mainland who actually chartered a jet and flew them to Utah, and then they went overland to Dothan, Alabama, and they've disappeared since. And they've been fugitives ever since. And so I've been unable to find them. When I was an agent, they were better at hiding and evading me than I was at manhunting.
Yeah.
And it was a real blow to my ego, and they remained fugitives to this very day. But there's hope. The FBI headquarters this week just put out a most wanted fraudsters list, like the FBI top 10 list, but for fraud people. And right there at the top are the smug faces of John and Julianne Demetrian, the couple that I was unable to find 15 years ago.
Wow.
And so they're still wanted by the FBI, and they kind of went a little bit viral, their story, and I've been kind of hyping it on my own social media in hopes that somebody is going to call it into the FBI and some smarter and better looking agent than me can actually close this case and catch them, and I'll have to stop looking around for them everywhere.
Is there any fear? Like, do you have any fear for your life? Like putting out this information where you're like hyping up these fugitives. Obviously the fugitives aren't going to be like coming for you or whatever, but like, I don't know. It's a risky position you put yourself in when you expose criminals and stuff. No.
Yeah, I think you mean the people I investigated as an agent. Like, are they going to come back and kill me?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. But here's the key, is that I never treated anyone poorly. Right? I'm always really nice to them. That's why they confess to me, right? Because I'm kind. And I never lied about them or to them. I never promised them anything I couldn't deliver. They know what they did. Every criminal I ever investigated know what they did. And they know that I treated them with kindness and dignity every step of the way. And the reason I do that is because it's not my job to punish them. It's my job to find out what happened. I'm the investigator. And because I treat them with respect and with kindness, and I have open and honest conversations with them, I got a lot of confessions from them. And every single one of them, when it's time for their sentencing, knows exactly what they did wrong and why they're going to prison. And when they're sitting in that prison, they're thinking that this agent treated them with dignity. So I sleep well at night knowing that they're not going to come back and kill me.
True. That's actually a really good point.
Mom always said, kill them with kindness. And that's been my motto my entire life. And
you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
Amen.
What is the process like for when they flee like that? Like, where do you start looking first? Obviously, you said flight logs and stuff, but like you found out they go to Utah, and then you found out they got to Alabama. How did you find out that they moved from Utah to Bama?
Informants.
Okay.
FBI agents all have to have a one or more kind of cadre of informants who feed the FBI information. These are normal people like you two who live and walk around among the people. Maybe they have their finger on the pulse of certain criminal groups. Maybe they're just our eyes. And they act as a force multiplier for FBI agents. And this domestic extremist group that was sort of sponsoring their escape from Hawaii, we had informants in that group. And so, I mean, we were a few months behind them. And by the time we actually figured out who to ask the right questions, and then we found out the whole story. But by the time we got to Dothan, Alabama, they had fled.
So we just know that their last point of contact was in Alabama.
Yeah.
And then we haven't heard of them since.
No, I mean, they're
How old are they now?
Gosh, they're younger than me, so they're probably in their 40s.
Okay. So they still have a long life to live to be on the run. Like,
Which is so stupid, Nick, right? Like,
Yeah.
this was a financial crime. This wasn't a violent crime. They probably would have gotten 3 or 4 years in prison. Instead, they've been living as fugitives with their heads on a swivel, unable to return to Hawaii, the land of their birth, where both of their families are, where they both went to high school. And the idea that they're going to spend the rest of their lives running from me and my colleagues is a terrible, terrible choice.
oh, 100%. And
Yeah.
we know for sure that they didn't go back to Hawaii?
That's the one place on planet Earth I'm pretty sure they're not.
Really? Okay.
Because
smart.
They're like local celebrity folk heroes in Hawaii as being the
Gotcha.
fugitive couple that outsmarted me.
How hard is it to like get an identity change and go and do something? Because I mean, that'd be the only real way to escape it, right?
When they pled guilty, they had to forfeit their passports, and so they didn't have passports in their names. Is it possible they were able to get out of the country? Yeah, you don't have to be James Bond to get out of the U.S. And then from there, maybe they made their way to the Philippines or something. I mean, there's 1,000 theories. Any theory you come up with is as valid as any theory I came up with because I failed to find them.
Wow.
When you have situations like that where you're crossing borders or even going to a totally different country, are there any like restrictions or are there anything you have to like hold back on that say you could do here when you're doing an investigation versus?
Well, sure. I don't have. Again, when I was an FBI agent, I did not have any authority whatsoever in foreign countries. I mean, I'm just a normal citizen there. The government of Mexico hasn't made me into a federale or anything like that. And so, when I would travel to countries like doing investigations like Turkey, Canada, the Bahamas, I was there as a guest of the local police or their version of the FBI. And the good news, though, is that we have mutual legal assistance treaties with nearly every civilized nation on planet Earth where we help out their police if they need help and they help out us. And so it's very collegial. But it's not like I can go start knocking on doors in the Philippines or in Mexico looking for them because eventually someone's going to call the cops and I'll have some real explaining to do why I'm in their country throwing a badge around that has no validity.
If someone like the police down in the Philippines found them, would they be forced to report that to FBI for you guys to get them?
Forced is a heavy word.
Okay.
I think they would want to do that as part of the cooperation agreement they have via treaties with the U.S., But I don't know that it's necessarily there's no reason for the government of the Philippines to facilitate two Americans, who are wanted by the FBI. If anything, they would really want to serve them up to curry favor with the FBI because they may need a help later.
For sure. Is there any countries that would be like let's say you were in their shoes, would there be countries that would be kind of smarter for you to
I'd go to Bali, Indonesia.
Really?
That's my bucket list. That's my only place I have to go is Bali in Indonesia.
The waves are really good there.
You guys are music guys. So I had a case where Indonesia has no extradition treaty with the U.S. Mm-hmm. So start there. And so I had a guy who is a music producer in Kauai, a Hawaiian island, who ripped off a couple $1 million from people. Peter was his name. And he was a music producer, ran a Ponzi scheme, an investment fraud. And he quite wisely takes off and he's hiding in Bali, Indonesia. He doesn't need to really hide there. He can sit there on the beach with his middle finger up because there's nothing we can do about it, right? And so he opened up a record label in Bali and was actually producing music. Bands were flying in there to make albums with him and stuff like that.
So you knew where he was at, and
I knew exactly where he was at. There's nothing I could do. So you know what I did? I did a publicity campaign. I went on the local Hawaii TV stations. I talked about how outrageous this is, and this guy's a con artist. This guy's a fugitive from the law, and it looks like he's in Bali, Indonesia, running a record label. And then I took the clips of that news story and I put it up on YouTube, and then I started hyping it on my social media, which wasn't that much at the time, and it went a little bit viral. And then I started contacting the musical artist on his label, saying, "Is this the guy you want to work with? Is this the reputation? Is this the shooting star you want to attach yourself to?" And I made his life miserable in Bali. And I don't have the ability to bring him back, but I have the ability to starve him by making sure he's absolutely radioactive in the music industry. And then after a while, I sent him an email because I had his email address and said, "Have you had enough?" And he said, "If I have had enough, are you the guy to negotiate my surrender with?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm the guy." And so he flew into Honolulu, put his hands out, put the handcuffs in, and brought him in.
Wow.
He again had to do his time, and but then he can move on with his life. There was no way I would ever let him move on with his life if he was hiding in Bali from me.
For sure.
Is he still doing music?
It's a good question.
How much time did he serve?
I think he got 5 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And
Gosh, that's crazy. You think about FBI. You think about you're going to get the death sentence or something.
Financial crime sentences are low because they want you to be able to do your time, get out, and begin paying the restitution you owe to the victims.
Oh, God.
Which usually happens with the garnishment of wages. This guy was ethnically German or a German citizen, so he just got deported back to Germany. I don't think he's paying anybody restitution, but he's also not my problem anymore, right? I mean, I caught him. He paid his debt to society. He was a cool guy once he surrendered. He was annoyed by me, but
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Why'd you leave the FBI?
I got old.
Yeah.
I got old. See, FBI agents are eligible to retire after reaching age 50 and having 20 years of service. You're mandatory to retire at age 57. On your 57th birthday, they are marching you out of the office at the tip of a sword. And so every agent has a decision to make between age 50 and age 57 on when's the right time for them to leave. And so by the time I was age 51, I had been an FBI special agent for 26 years without a promotion, working the exact same job on the last day as I had on the first day. And we can talk about that if you want.
Okay.
And I knew that after I retired, I wanted to be a private investigator. But I knew that if I retired young at age 51, I could have a longer runway to make that work as opposed to retiring as a broken down old 57. So I broke down. Even though it was a job I loved and I woke up every morning and I couldn't wait to go to work, I retired.
Wow. Was that a hard choice?
Yeah, it was a hard choice. I loved the job. It defined me as a person. You know,
What would
I'd
be
worked
the-
my entire youth for this job, and then I did it for 26 years, and it was way more fun than any other aspect of my life. But at some point, you have to pull the trigger and leave. And do you want to do that at the tip of a sword, or do you want to do that on your own terms?
For sure. Yeah, that makes good sense. What would be the benefit of going and hiring a private investigator versus an FBI, or just going straight to the FBI if you have issues?
Okay. The value that I add, I do a lot of financial crime investigations as a private investigator, right? Small businesses that have an embezzlement, where an employee is stealing money, where it's someone who gets ripped off in an investment fraud. Sometimes a woman will call me and say, hey, I just met the man of my dreams on Bumble, and I'm getting ready to go on my first date with him. Can you do a background check to make sure I'm not going to wind up in the trunk of a car? And so for the people who are actual crime victims who hire me, what they're really hiring me to do is to investigate the crime, usually a fraud of some kind, make an honest attempt to go to the bad guy and try to collect the money. We pay back my client, pretty please. And then if they choose not to package that case up and shepherd it to my former colleagues at the FBI for whatever investigation they deem appropriate. I can't tell my clients, I'll definitely get an FBI investigation. This guy's going to end up in an orange jumpsuit that's going to match the OG Sessions walls. You know, I can't make that promise, but I can tell them that I have 30 years of experience of doing this, and I know how to put a case together to sell it to my former colleagues and put it together. And my colleagues would love it, right? The FBI loves getting cases from me because I'm doing the work for them. It's all packaged up. They just need to rewrite my reports and put their names at the bottom. I knew when I was an agent, if a private investigator or an attorney did a full investigation and handed me the case with a little bow tied around it, that case moved to the top of the stack. So that's the value I add to my clients.
Yeah, because it's got to be easier. You got everything sitting right there for you. You just got to, like you said, just execute.
But I always make sure I'm not trying to steal from anybody. I tell my clients, listen, you're a taxpayer. You could call the FBI yourself and say, help, I've been robbed. And maybe they open a case, maybe they don't. What I'm doing is I'm just getting it organized to kind of increase the odds and getting it to the right people.
Are you capable of arresting someone right now, or is that okay? So
I'm just a normal citizen like you.
So you can you do all the investigative work, and then the FBI goes and arrests the person, or does whatever they have to do to punish the guy.
Exactly. If a lot of my cases, I get done with it. I tell the client, well, the FBI has it now. I'm out of here. I'm done. My engagement's over. And then, but these agents are my friends, and so they give me a heads up, and they're like, hey, keep an eye out for the news a couple of days, and I see that they're arresting the guy and stuff like that. So it's always very gratifying, and the clients like it because it gives them some closure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I can only imagine.
And there's no way to know if the FBI would have picked up the case had the victim contacted them organically, because the intake process for the FBI is sort of, it's one of those things where you fill out a form online, you just sort of never hear anything.
Yeah.
Why do they let the people go back to, like you said, they have 90 days until they have to be back for sentencing? Why not just sentence them now? You already have them in.
Because what happens is after the person pleads guilty, and in my cases, they would always plead guilty. They're not going to go to trial, and the evidence is too solid. What happens is the judge has the U.S. probation do what they call a pre-sentence report, kind of looking at the totality of their lives. Is this person, what's their family life like? Do they have a drug or alcohol problem? What's the true economic loss? Because they don't want to just take the FBI's word for it, right? And then the probation department makes a sentencing recommendation to the judge. This guy needs 3 years in prison, or this guy's really bad, give him 10 years in prison. And the judge needs to take that under consideration. Then they have and so probation needs 90 days to get that together. The reason they're not holding them in jail during that window of time is because they haven't been sentenced for a crime. The only reason to hold someone in jail for any reason, and I believe this in the state too, is if they're a flight risk or a danger to the community. Right? The jail is not there to punish them. The punishment happens after the judge gives out a sentence. And so, so the vast majority of federal defendants end up going home and awaiting their sentencing at home. And then it's even crazier. After their sentence, the judge is like, okay, you got 90 days to report to the prison.
Really?
Yeah.
So you can be out there for months and months on...
Right. And here's the thing. It's so funny. I've had so many cases where the defense attorney is arguing, it's like, let's say it's November 1st. Hey, can we have his surrender after January 1st so he can have one last Christmas with his family? And I'm like, you're a moron. What a Merry Christmas that would be, isn't it? Like sitting around opening gifts knowing that dad's going away to prison in a couple of weeks. 100%. I had one woman, her name was Kelly. Her first name was Kelly, and she married a guy who's named Kelly. She's the only defendant I had in 30 years and hundreds of cases who, at the time of her guilty plea, said, I'd like to start serving my prison sentence right now. The judge is like, well, I don't even know what I'm going to sentence you to. She goes, I know I'm going to prison. I know it's going to be more than 90 days. Let's get this thing started. I want to put this behind me. That was so smart. But she's the only one who's ever done that.
Wow.
Really? That's weird. I feel like I would just want to get it over with. If it's 5 years, it's hard to...
The catch is this. If you're in a jail awaiting sentencing, it's like a jail, like the Jacksonville jail next to the Maxwell House downtown. When you're a white collar criminal and you're sentenced, maybe you go to like a work camp and you're practicing your golf swing and playing some pickleball. It looks more like a New England women's college than actually like a prison.
Really?
Yeah. The white collar crime prisons are pretty sweet. And you're networking. There's a congressman in this room. There's a governor in that room. There's some hedge fund guy in that room.
Networking is so funny. You're just building your network.
They just said that KK, the guy that is in jail, they got for good behavior. He gifted him a full on one of these, like a microphone, so he could record music in like prison. And I'm
no
like,
way.
Why are we helping him out?
I'm not that scared to go to jail now. Shoot, I'm just kidding. That's crazy.
I know. I can only imagine the amount of change that has come with social media, and especially in like investigative work. Like, what changes do you see with the growth of social media and the power that it holds?
Well, it certainly makes my life and other investigators' lives easier when someone out there is going to actually document what they're doing, especially when it comes to people who commit frauds and they're acting super flashy online on their Instagram. You're literally just doing screenshot after screenshot, kind of harvesting the evidence.
Digging your own grave.
Even in the early days of, you guys are so young. You're not even old enough to know MySpace, are you?
Oh, yeah.
We were there right at the very end of MySpace.
Okay,
I had a MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace almost had like a blog-like function in it. And so there were some domestic extremists that I was trying to kind of put a case together on, and all I had to do was go to their MySpace, and they're referencing road trips to this and that, to this rally and that rally with these other people in the car. And we had this interesting conversation about this and that. And I'm literally just kind of putting that together with phone records and bank records to figure out where these guys were at certain times. And I'm doing this sitting on my ass in the office because they're serving up their schedule to me. So, and especially with the con artists that I investigate, part of their marketing is to show opulence, to show how they're just living so ostentatiously with like big bands of money and sports cars and stuff like that. And then all you have to do is start looking up when was this car purchased and matching that up with the investment that my clients made with them that was ostensibly for some startup company that was used for a car. So they spend a lot of time on social media telling on themselves, which I'm thrilled about.
Absolutely.
So please keep it up, criminals.
Is it tough with AI now, like with how big AI has gotten to for them to, I mean, I know you've been out of it for a couple of years, but
deep fakes.
Like deep fakes now, sometimes I can't even tell if a video on Instagram is deep or not, So
much of what I did as an FBI agent involved wiring up either myself as an undercover or wiring up an informant to, go through a transaction with somebody. And I left the FBI in 2021 before AI was a thing, but now I imagine every criminal defense attorney is just licking their chops to say, the FBI made that via AI. Don't believe your lying eyes, believe me. And so it's going to be tough.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be tough. And we need, I don't know if this exists, if there's some authentication system where a computer, probably AI, can actually certify that this is an original copy of an original video and not an AI recreation. I don't know if that exists yet.
I mean, we've done photos with AI and it fools everyone on Instagram. Yep. We did for what was it? For April Fool's Day, we did a Tiger Woods pretend post where we were we had Tiger Woods in the studio and we convinced everyone that we interviewed Tiger Woods,
That's
and it was
so
right
funny.
after
Our
the
own
DUI.
parents thought it was real.
Yeah, my family, man, they were all calling me like after we made the post. Everyone thought it was real, and like I mean, we could tell that there was like aspects of because we saw the original photo too, so like we know like how we made it and stuff,
Yeah.
and our faces did look a little bit off, but like to the naked eye and someone that doesn't know us very well, like
Right.
they totally bought it.
The question is, if that was introduced in evidence in court, is there software out there that could identify that picture
Sure.
as AI?
I'm sure there is because they have it for like college students now where they know what
Yeah,
they
like
turn it in
your
type of
essay.
stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a plagiarism thing, but they got to go a little bit further on that too to find out.
No, publishers are seeing that right now with books. I'm in the process of writing my first book, and I was told by my literary agent, do not use AI because the publishers, the first thing they can do is run your manuscript through an AI thing to know if your book was written by ChatGPT. If it does, they're not going to publish your shit.
Wow, that's
Now,
so interesting.
In Flip, let's say a fugitive is on the run and they chat GPT their escape plan. Are you able to intercept that information?
Ooh,
Okay, so what we could probably do, and again, this was all invented when I was no longer a law enforcement officer, so right now I'm a little more powerless. We could probably, since ChatGPT is a U.S. corporation, subpoena them with their ChatGPT account and get a download or a search warrant, a subpoena or search warrant, some kind of court order, and getting all the information that they were ChatGPTing. We do that right now with Google searches. We could do a search warrant on Google, and as long as you are signed in under your Gmail account name, we can find out all your Google searches. It happens all the time in murder cases, right? Like you get busted for murder, we get your Google history, and you're doing like how much poison do I need to put into my wife's wine to actually kill her, like the night before the murder. It happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
People tell on themselves.
It's crazy.
because you think that even if you're in a private browser or wherever it is, you think that it's private, but it's really not. Like there's
No,
all
if
your
you-
records are out there.
You're signed into, I mean, hell, your Google Maps, I can subpoena that and find out exactly where you were at every certain point in time if you're signed on and through Google Maps.
That is insane. Is there any records that are difficult to acquire? Like,
Cryptocurrency.
oh, really?
Of course.
Yeah, that's it. Cryptocurrency, we can follow your stuff from one wallet to another, but we can't find out who's behind that wallet, which is why I advise people to just stay away from cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Because people can scam you, and then you can't figure
It
out
happens
who
all the time, right?
scammer
As
is.
soon as your money, like I get a dozen calls a week from people who got ripped off in crypto scams, wanting me to reverse the cryptocurrency transfer, and I just have to tell them I'm not going to take their money. That it's not possible.
Wow.
I could tell you exactly what wallet it went to, but I don't know if that wallet.
Even if it's like Bitcoin too, because I know Bitcoin's so big. Wow.
No, Bitcoin. I can tell you what wallet it went to, but I can't tell you if that wallet is sitting in Lagos, Nigeria, or Jacksonville, Florida.
Gotcha.
I'm sure you're probably like well tapped in with the scams and stuff that are going on and stuff. Ticketmaster, like tickets are the number one scam for me because I'm a music nerd and I think they're targeting me somehow, some way. But like, what would you consider like new, fresh like scams that are going around that not a lot of people may know about?
The latest ones that I'm seeing a lot of is where people get a phone call saying that they missed jury duty and there's a warrant for their arrest, and they can pay the fine right now on the phone, or they can turn themselves in.
Wow.
And it's just and they go, oh, well, I'd like to pay the fine, and then the next thing you know, they're either trying to get you by a green dot card to pay it, or they're sending you to a Bitcoin ATM to put your cash at the gas station Bitcoin ATM and transfer the money to the bad guy in India or Lagos, Nigeria, or Ukraine or wherever he is. So get a lot of those, a lot of romance scams that's hitting senior citizens, but also hitting young people. I mean, loneliness is a powerful tool. So somebody goes online and meets the boy or girl of their dreams, and they have this fantastic online relationship. They're having like phone sex and all that. Unfortunately, Mr. Wonderful is on on an oil rig, so he just can't FaceTime with you. But he's just super charming on the phone. He's got a little bit of an accent, but his parents were German. Next thing you know, he talks about how his money got locked up and he just needs a couple $1,000 to fly out so he can be together with you forever. And then the ladies next thing are sending Bitcoin to the guy, and they're on the train.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because we interviewed a guy who owns Bitcoin ATMs. Totally forgetting. Kalen Ritter, I believe is his name. He's a really smart guy, and it was cool kind of hearing about like how the ATMs work and whatever. And he did say, he's like, they're kind of like, it's untraceable. Like,
It is.
once you start transferring money, like you said, you can see the wallet, but you can't see who the owner of the wallet is or where that money's going or whatever,
So I did an investigation. I can't talk too much about it, but I'll give it to you in broad strokes. I basically had access to a Bitcoin ATM in Jacksonville and the data from it. And I wanted to find out, this is, again, I can tell you exactly, it was 2017, 2018. So early days of Bitcoin, and there weren't that many Bitcoin ATMs in Jacksonville. And so through some clever maneuvering on my part, which I'm not going to get into, I have access to the data on this. I can find out who's using this. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to have so many like drug dealers laundering money. I'm going to have, like human traffickers. I thought I was just going to be like hoovering up every bad guy in Jacksonville with the data on who's using this money laundering machine. And the Bitcoin ATM was crazy. It was charging 20% fee. Right?
Yeah.
So you put in $1,000, you're going to get $800 worth of Bitcoin, and the ATM company is keeping 20% of that. It's fully disclosed. It's not a fraud. But why on earth? Who would do that unless you were looking to get involved with some kind of money laundering and you didn't want to use your phone app, which might be traceable? So I did this huge study and kind of collecting the information, running the people through there. Do you know who was using the Bitcoin ATM?
Who?
It was all little old ladies and little old men who had been ripped off in frauds.
No.
100% of them. There was like,
sucks.
I found no legitimate bad guys. It was all crime victims putting money in there because they thought they had some inheritance, they needed to pay the taxes, or that they got the wrong number text message from the impossibly beautiful Asian woman and they wanted to invest in a cryptocurrency program with her, or they had fallen in love with Johnny Depp and he needed some money to because his money had been locked up by the IRS. Just every one of them had some crazy story ripping them off. But so
How do they get in contact with these people? Just like texting them usually?
yeah, it's usually a wrong number text.
Yeah.
There's sucker lists that go out. So a senior citizen who gets ripped off once is going to be on a sucker list, and then they start selling the sucker list to each other.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah,
see.
so you get ripped off in a fraud.
That's why they call it organized crime.
Yeah, you are now a commodity. Your phone number. So dig this. So I had a case. 90-year-old guy got ripped off in a sweepstakes lottery scam. Like, hey, you won the lottery in Italy. We got $1 million coming your way. We just need you to pay the taxes up front. How much? $10,000. Wires them $10,000 overseas, and so they begin bleeding. Okay, now we have a EU fee. We need you to pay another $5,000 for the EU fee. Just bleeding this old man dry, and so so not much I could do. Bad guys are in Nigeria in this case. We've traced it that far. And so I go to him and I basically do an intervention with his family. Listen, you did not, in fact, win the lottery. These are con artists. Here's the pictures of the bad guys. They're not the people they say they are. It's not the Italian lottery. It's bad guys. They may be involved with terrorism. They may be involved with all sorts of stuff. You need to stop sending them money. He's like, okay, I'll stop. And I go, okay, the next thing we need to do is your phone is basically contaminated. They're not going to stop calling you and texting you and trying to trick you. Hop in my car. We're going to drive to the Verizon store, get you a new phone number. I know it sucks. You've had this phone number since like 1965 or whatever, but you got to do it. And the son's like, yeah, Dad, go with him. So we drive him down there to the Verizon store, gets a new phone number. Okay, my job is done here, right? We've saved this old man from being ripped to shreds financially by predators. A week later, the pizza man arrives at the house. Got a pizza delivery from Mr. Wong, Asian guy. And he goes, I didn't order pizza. They go, it's a gift from somebody. Here, he wants to talk to you. The pizza man, delivery guy from a local pizza place, hands him a phone. The bad guy, the con artist, is on the phone. Mr. Wong, we've been trying to get a hold of you. This is John from the lottery. We got your free pizza. Hey, we need to get your new phone number. He gives him his new phone number, and we're right back where we started from.
Wow.
They will go to extreme lengths to not lose a sucker until they bled them dry.
That is terrible,
That's
man. What a I mean, it's a really I mean, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I don't even know what the word is, but I would not be, man, that would kill me,
What's
dude, knowing that.
the new Silk Road nowadays?
Oh, as far as buying dope
Or
online?
not necessarily, but I imagine a place like Silk Road would be where you would go to
Telegram.
Telegram.
The Telegram, while you and I may use it for text messaging, there are communities on Telegram that are just cesspools of child sex abuse material, weird animal torture groups.
Is Telegram not owned by the USA, or is it
Telegram? No, it's owned by Russians, incorporated in Dubai.
Wow.
And they are not going to cooperate with U.S. law enforcement under any circumstances.
Wow.
And so, so it is just a haven for bad actors.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the black market's, I mean, it can be anywhere in any form nowadays, but...
Drugs, you want to buy stolen credit card numbers, anything. It's all happening on Telegram.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Well, my grandpa, he was a FBI special agent as well.
Really?
And yeah,
you didn't tell me that. That's so cool.
Yeah, he was a FBI agent. I don't even remember how many years, but he did that majority of his career. He was in the Air Force beforehand. And
What
then,
cities?
He was in Jacksonville. And then I believe he was in Miami for a little bit, and then
Nick, when did he retire?
New Jersey. Oh, God. He's an older fella.
I'm an older fella. How old is he?
Years ago. He probably retired like maybe 25, maybe 30 years ago or something like that.
So we probably didn't have much overlap then,
No, probably not. But he tells me a bunch of stories all the time. He would go undercover a lot. And you had mentioned in one of your stories, like you going undercover and being wired up and stuff like that. And I mean, he's got stories of him going into like sewer, pipes and stuff like that, and like going behind walls and listening.
Is he still alive, Nick?
He is, yeah.
What's he doing now? I guess he's an older fellow. What did he do after he retired?
Golfing. Really, I think that was his last job. I think that was where he finished out.
And he chilled out after he retired?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, I'm green with envy.
Well, yeah, he's living a great life now.
Is he local?
Yeah, he's local. He lives in Jacksonville.
Cool.
But he tells me these stories all the time about him going undercover and all this stuff, and I find it so intriguing. Do you have any stories that, like in particular that stand out to you of when you went undercover? What up, OGs? We interrupt this episode to tell you about one of our favorite sponsors, All of My Pickle. If you're tired of boring pickles that taste like, well, nothing, then it's time to upgrade your snack game. All of My Pickle makes the most delicious, gut-healthy, fermented pickles, krauts, and pickled veggies that you've ever had.
They're crunchy, tangy, and full of probiotics, but taste money, dude. Whether you're putting them on a salad, a sandwich, or just snacking them straight from the pouch, these pickles hit different.
Right now, All of My Pickle is offering listeners 10% off your first order with code OGSP at allofmypickle.com. Support a local business that makes food that actually loves your gut back. Go give All of My Pickle a shout. Thank you, All of My Pickle, so much for sponsoring this episode.
Code OGSP.
10% off your first order. That's a deal that you guys cannot sleep on. Now back to the episode.
We love you, All of My Pickle.
I did so much undercover work. First of all, I guess let me give you a little background on FBI undercover agents, because I think a lot of people don't understand. Most agents go their whole career with never going undercover. Only about 5% of FBI agents are certified to go undercover. And you do that by applying to go to an FBI undercover school, and where they train you. And I can't really talk too much about the specifics of the school, but they set you up in situations like, a lot of classroom stuff, a lot of behavioral science stuff, a lot of how to ingratiate yourself with strangers, creating a legend for yourself where yesterday you were nowhere and today you're everywhere with this group of people who should be suspicious of you.
Yeah.
What personality traits people tend to like. And all that. So you kind of go through all that, and then you do a lot of practical exercises with these professional actors who are like role players. You're going to go into this trailer here in this fake town that we have and buy a kilo. And so you do that, and then it goes horribly wrong. It goes horribly wrong like every time. You're like on your knees, like begging for your life.
Yeah.
And they do that so when you do go undercover, one, they want to know that you're going to be a cool customer. And when you do finally go undercover on a real case, and you aren't being thrown into the trunk of a car, then you just kind of know to keep your cool. But they're giving you the worst case scenario, so you're prepared for that.
Yeah.
So, gosh, I did so many undercover assignments. I'll tell you about the first time I did anything undercover. I can't tell you too much about the case because it was a national security case, but I meet some people in my undercover capacity online. We're going to be getting together in Chicago in a hotel room lobby to do some bad stuff, or at least start talking about it. So I've been in touch with these people online. They know that I'm this guy, and I looked very different. I had shaved head, like big gauge earrings. I did not look like a young Republican, and
so they do that. Like this is the FBI dressing you up to fit the mold. Essentially,
I sort of thought. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if the FBI had like costumers and hairdressers and stuff?
Yeah.
No, I had to do it all myself. My wife's like shaving my head in the living room as we're getting ready for this thing, and so I'm nervous as hell, right? I mean, I'm scared. And this is my first time meeting these guys. It is my first undercover assignment. I don't want to screw it up. I got my ears pierced for it. I'd shaved my head for this. I'd gone through a lot of costuming, that some of which was reversible, some of which, would scar me for life. And so I show up, and these guys are coming in from out of town. I show up at a hotel lobby. I'm waiting for them. They come down. We shake hands in the lobby. We sit down to just chat. So tell me about yourself, blah, 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 blah. We're talking. At the same time, while we're there, there's a clown convention happening at the same hotel. Literally, like in this giant, beautiful, ornate hotel lobby, there's probably 500 clowns in full costume on the first night, running around acting like clowns, doing clown shit.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
Nightmare. That
is nightmare
the movie
fuel
It.
for sure,
now,
bro.
Now, again, I'm an old guy now. My eyes have failed. But back then, I didn't need glasses, but I was doing a Clark Kent Superman thing because I was from Chicago, and I'm going undercover in Chicago. So I want to change my appearance. So I had glasses very much like this, kind of Ray-Bans with clear glass through them. I didn't need glasses. They were just like window panes, right? And it was my first time wearing them. And so I'm talking to these guys. These clowns are buzzing everywhere. I'm nervous, and a clown walks up while I'm talking to these dudes, and the clown goes, "Those glasses aren't real," with a little honker, and they're not. The clown's exactly right. And I go, "Excuse me." I go, "What are you talking about?" And the clown goes, "Those glasses that you're wearing, they're not real glasses." And of course, this clown is right, and I am shitting myself at this point, right? And I go, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I go, "They're my glasses." And I go, "It's not a strong prescription, but it is not a strong prescription, but it's my prescription." And the clown leans over and squints and goes, "Oh, there's glass in there. I thought they were just empty." And because this is my first time ever putting these things on, they weren't like smudged and scratched like real glasses. And so what a lesson it was for me. And so the clown's like, "I'm sorry, I thought they were just clear." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm talking to some people. Do you mind?" And then the clown walks away, and I look at the guys who are meeting with me. I go, "Fucking clown." And I go, "What was I saying?" And then we go on to the conversation.
Oh my God.
Wow, what a lesson to me on how the little details when you go undercover that could undo all the work you've done so far. It never occurred to me to smudge up my glasses.
Oh, I was shitting my
I was
pants,
rolling
bro.
around in
Could
the
you
dirt to
imagine?
kind of look like a straight edge street kid, but it never occurred to me to smudge up these pristine, beautiful glasses right out of the case.
Wow.
I can imagine a couple different like almost busts, but has there ever been like you got busted and
In my undercover capacity,
yeah,
never.
never.
I've been made on surveillance a lot.
Which is crazy because if you showed up exactly like this, like that's a cop.
Oh, come on.
Not like that. Not like that. No,
How
you
dare
do.
you? How dare you?
You know what I mean?
I'm like a cool street kid like you.
Okay, if you're meeting up with a bunch of fugitives, like, dude, this is a cop. Like, there's always like that meme where it's like you look like a cop or you look like a narc or whatever. You like, and I'm sure he's
dare
like
How
you know,
dare you?
switching it up or whatever. But Tom, I mean that in the nicest way, man. That's a good thing. You don't look like a criminal.
I
I'm
look
sorry.
like your accountant, maybe, but not a cop.
Okay, I feel like accountant is so much worse
I get
than
more
a
cop than a cop vibes.
You
than anything.
definitely give cop.
I could
for
definitely-
sure. Like
I mean-
that's
Yeah,
the thing.
yeah, yeah,
Hayden
yeah.
is like that. You could totally.
Hey, I
be a
see you
cop.
on a motorcycle writing tickets.
Yeah, for sure.
The mustache. Yeah.
Yeah, Hayden isn't the guy that you send to go and buy a kilo from the dude's trailer.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they selling you.
I
shit,
smell
brother.
bacon.
Yeah.
I've had I went to a music festival once, and somebody legitimately thought that I was like an undercover, and they were like suspicious of me, like I had been a cop following them around. And
Yeah.
now we're friends.
That's awesome.
It's a funny
Right.
story because I won't put him on blast this time, but
How many of those undercover cases did you do? Like I know you said there was only like 5% of the.
There's one that I
FBI.
was that I can't talk about where I was undercover full time for 2 years, living as someone else for 2 full years, not going in the office, not carrying a gun, not being an FBI agent in any way other than being deep undercover with a extremist group.
were you allowed to be with the family?
I had arrangements to kind of see my family regularly, and I had a new kid at the time, and so yes, that was a stressor.
That's
But
like a 2-year sentence.
yeah, and I got to tell you, I didn't like it. I kind of liked who I was. I worked my whole life to be an FBI agent. I
Yeah.
didn't feel like an FBI agent. I felt like a scumbag, and so
What was your identity that you had to be?
first thing you need to do is there's 2 big things you need to figure out. One is how not to get laid, right? Which is something I've never had a problem with. Right, but again, if you're undercover, assuming you're married in your real life, that creates problems. But even if you aren't, even if you're like a single guy, the idea of like having sex with women in this case under false pretenses is going to look really bad on the stand.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right. And so the other thing is how not to use drugs. Right. And so my character was always straight edge. You know what straight edges
Gotcha.
are? You guys
Yeah.
old enough to know that?
Yeah,
All right,
100%.
Yeah.
And so, but your character in this specific instance, like if you're going undercover, then you do want to look like someone that does drugs, depending on what the person is, right?
No. I did an undercover where I played a drug addict. I played a homeless person, and Mr. You look like a cop, Tom.
I would never, dude. That's crazy.
And I ripped off banks. But the idea was that the guy was offering me heroin while we were driving around. And I told him I had gone through rehab, and I was a pill addict, and I had been clean for like 3 weeks or something like that. So I'm trying to just get through today. That's the thing, get through today.
For sure.
But then we drove around and ripped off banks with him, and he picked me up at the homeless shelter.
And so pretty much so you're collecting all this information while you're with this
I'm wearing
person.
a wire.
Wow.
Wearing a wire, and we got, he doesn't know it, but there's 30 FBI agents following us as I'm going from bank to bank, ripping off banks with counterfeit checks. We had an airplane in the sky following me. I mean,
so you're well protected. Like
I'm
in
well
these
protected,
cases.
but I'm also driving. He's driving. I'm a passenger. He's snorting heroin while he's driving, having me hold the steering wheel next to him while he's going like 75 miles an hour down small residential streets in Chicago. I thought that was going to kill somebody. And, well, you know, worst of all being me.
Did that get your heart rate up? Like when you're,
Oh yeah, I
when
was
you're in
terrified.
the moment? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't worried about like. I mean, I guess I was worried going into the bank that some bank teller was going to like, you know, like. I wouldn't care about being arrested by the police because you get out. It's not like I'm going to spend a night in jail. But I wanted to do a good job. But we must have ripped off 15 banks that day for $20,000-$30,000. And then at the end, he goes, "Where do you want me to drop you off?" I go, "How about the Blockbuster Video right there on North Avenue near the U-Haul?" And I go, "My baby mama works in the U-Haul behind, but I'm going to go into the Blockbuster and get like a Disney DVD to bring her because she's been real pissed to me lately. So just drive like behind it and drop me off by the dumpster. This is all planned." And so he drives me off by the dumpster. He goes, "Okay, you good to do this tomorrow, bro?" And I go, yeah, we can do this tomorrow. I'll meet you at the same place at the shelter at like, 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning? He goes, yeah, let's do that. And so we bump fists. I get out of his car. I leave the door open. I keep walking. He's like, yo, Tom. I always use the name Tom because it's easy to remember.
Sure.
And he goes, close the door, man. And then the FBI agents come out from behind the dumpster with shotguns, put it in his face, and arrest him.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been looking for that guy for a while. And I was so pleased during the interrogation process when he said he had no idea I was an FBI agent. He was totally fooled by me. He believed I was just some addict.
And so you got to be a good liar, right? Like in those cases, like you got to be able to lie on the spot, or convincing, or whatever.
Which is crazy, right? Because they hire FBI nerds like me because we're these honest Boy Scouts, right?
Yeah.
But then they look for the sociopaths among us to throw undercover because we're such convincing liars.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of trauma involved in that. How do you mentally compartmentalize
It's a great point because you lose track of who you are.
Yeah.
Right. And so for deep cover assignments like the one I did, they send you to a psychologist every 90 days. I invented a fake girlfriend on the island of St. Croix that I would go visit every 90 days. One, it kept me from getting laid in my undercover capacity. And two, it allowed me to go away to go to a psychologist for kind of a battery of tests and talk therapy and all that to make sure I haven't kind of lost track of who I was.
Wow.
And I got to tell you, it was tough. I kind of did lose track of who I was.
That's awesome.
Was it
not
worth
awesome,
it
but
in those
like,
cases? Like when you would get the bad guy, but you're going through so much time of you being this like fake identity. Is it worth it?
Was it worth it? You kind of lose track of yourself.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, this sounds so stupid. You guys are going to think I'm such a nerd. The thing that got me back into the right headspace when I left the undercover assignment and took my earrings out and grew my hair back and threw those stupid glasses away was actually putting on a suit and tie for the first time in 2 years.
Really?
I felt like an FBI agent again.
There you go.
Just like literally putting on the tie. It's such a stupid thing, but just sort of putting on a suit and tie, being kind of a respectable citizen again instead of some gutter punk was everything I needed. What they do for some agents is that they send them back to the FBI Academy to shepherd a new agent class as a counselor through the process to kind of re-indoctrinate them into the FBI way of thinking.
Gotcha.
To make them into a special agent again, because I had lost track of who I was.
Do any of these people ever go undercover and get stuck in that world? Like, do any of these agents? I mean, I guess
Agents do dumb
question.
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, agents will make the mistake of using drugs or having sex or getting too involved or falling in love in their undercover capacity and then convincing themselves that, like, listen, when this thing's over, she's going to still love me. And so, I mean, agents lose their minds, which is why it's so important, and God bless the FBI for this, that they make you go to that psychologist every now and then to talk things through with a kind of a non-judgmental therapist.
Yeah.
To kind of get you back in the right headspace and smack you around and say, get out of this headspace.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it changes you.
It
know?
does.
And the other thing is that you meet people in your undercover capacity who know you in your undercover capacity, and they become your friends. Because bad guys aren't bad guys all the time, right? You go to this guy's house, you're watching UFC fights with him, you're just chilling out for an evening.
And you've got the wire
playing
on.
video games. You don't even need to wear a wire. You're not going to be doing anything illegal.
Yeah, true.
And so you're just kind of hanging out with these guys to build up your bona fides with them. And so they're convinced that you're Tom so-and-so and not Special Agent Tom Simon. So they vouch for you later. I mean, these people become your friends in a very real way, and bad guys who do bad things aren't bad guys all the time. They have normal lives like the rest of us do.
Does it ever get hard? Like, were there any cases where it was hard to, like, you know, arrests a guy.
Well, you
or,
get Stockholm syndrome. My case was a little different than that, but yeah, you end up liking these people, and when the investigation's winding down, and you need to create some excuse as to why you're going away, and you're never going to come back, and they're never going to see you again. These are your friends. You're going to miss them.
Were any of the cases where the fugitives, did they get suspicious that you were an FBI agent, or were like, have you ever had any close calls?
Again, fugitives are people who are wanted by the FBI that we're hunting down. These are just
gotcha.
subjects of an investigation. No, I don't think so. I just don't. They never ever treated me as if they suspected I was an FBI agent, and then we had situations where these people all know that they're under investigation by the FBI.
Yeah,
and so, we're sitting around talking ad nauseum about how to stay one step ahead of the FBI as we're committing these crimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it probably helps you as an investigator as well, because you can see they're probably trying to be one step ahead, like you said, but in the same time, you're the agent, so you're already one step ahead of them, but it's like this.
It's a chess match, but you don't want to tip your hand, and what you really do is you be quieter than you normally are.
Yeah.
You need to take him to the casino. He's probably the right guy to bring to the casino.
For poker? I play a lot of poker.
I can imagine.
In fact, I'm going to a poker game after we get off the air. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like an ATM for me.
Right?
That's true.
We were having this conversation earlier, and this may have no correlation, so dismiss me if by any means, but because your financial, or I guess corporate fraud, I guess, is something that might be up your alley, but Lickety Split. Have you heard from Lickety Split?
I don't know anything about them.
They're a local plumbing company, and they are just in a way, I guess, scamming. And I think he was even talking about it. His grandma got scammed out of
$25,000. I'm sorry to hear that.
For a water softener.
And it's, I from what I've learned is they've made it correct. But through that happening, I have heard about all these other cases where Lickety Split has been.
Are they still up and running as a company?
They're still up and running. I just saw a truck 2 days ago.
Are you comfortable talking about them as
I mean,
being
I don't
con
care.
artists?
Whatever. The thing is I don't know enough details. We were kind of hoping that maybe you had heard about this beforehand.
First I'm hearing
but
it.
the news had went to them. I know someone that actually works within Lickety Split, funny enough. And I was talking to her recently, and she was saying that, the news will be coming to us soon to, ask about it. I guess there's been a ton of, I don't even know if it's full. Do you know more about it? Is it scammy, or is it just bad business?
I think it's all bad practice and scammy, but it's one of those things that show up with tools, don't show up with an iPad, ready to sell, work and stuff like that. And I think they're trying to sell you on work that doesn't need to be, had.
So one thing that was interesting, and this is kind of when I first started hearing about it, was my grandma, she pulled up a number. Basically, she was like, I've been sitting on hold for 3 hours waiting on these people to show up on the phone. Man. And then she gave me the number. She's like, try calling from your phone and see if it'll be a little bit quicker. And the first thing that they ask you when you answer the phone is, are you voting for J.D. Vance or Gavin Newsom for president or something? And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And so
the plumbers?
Exactly. And so I kept switching. I guess they have a bunch of different, it's plumbing is their main thing, but they've got some other stuff. But she claims this is the phone number that she was given by the technician. And so I hang up, call them again, same question. Hang up, call them again. She's like, if you call them the third time, then they don't ask you the question. They just push you through to this line. And she's sitting there for so long. And so I go on Google and I find a different number and I call that and someone picks up immediately. And was
grandma just calling the wrong number?
Well, what she claims is this is the number that she got from the technician. And so, I mean,
she transposed two numbers or something.
And so it was really odd because then when we called the actual number, they're like, oh yeah, we've had some people that have had issues calling this separate number, And then the lady on the phone was actually very sweet and kind of made it right. And so I hate to even sit here and talk bad about Lickety Split, but these situations have happened. I mean, the news got a hold of it. So clearly we're not
Facebook
breaking.
Groups are being formed on everybody sharing their testimonies on a $20,000 water heater, job that should cost a grand.
I do know that the technician had to go back and forth 5 times or something to my grandma's house to put in this water softener, and apparently they said it was done and it wasn't done, and the water was still not soft. And I don't even know. I think that's an interesting point to bring up though, because I think that that's all fresh. Yeah. A lot of people are having those
It's
issues
also
right now.
not an FBI matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? For sure.
Consumer fraud is generally addressed by state attorney general's offices, and it's generally handled civilly, not criminally.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I'm not the bad plumbing police.
Have you ever had any colleagues of yours at the FBI that have either gotten caught undercover or they've been in a tough situation like that? I mean,
at undercover school, they tell you lots of horror stories, and they bring in undercover agents to kind of give a presentation about what happened when they got made or what happened, and so and you hear a lot of these stories. It never, thank heavens, happened to me, but you basically just insist on your innocence, and whoever's giving them that information that you are an undercover FBI agent is a liar and a creep and is probably trying to rip you off. So,
what do you do if they find the mic? Like, did they teach you about this in school? Like, if they see the mic, or they know, or maybe you're wearing a shirt where the mic becomes visible or something?
Technology has changed over time. In the old days, when your grandfather was an agent, and in my early days, we had a reel-to-reel magnetic tape player called a Nagra that would literally sit on the belt on the small of your back and would have two wires that would kind of run up onto your shoulders, and you're recording in stereo. And what was crazy is it got hot. So you're getting like these third-degree burns on the small of your back. So you kind of learn to get the deal done fast.
Yeah.
And so there's no reasonable explanation for why that's being worn on you.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, sometimes they walk through situations where like guys like trying to open his shirt and say I got nothing on. Then you go, listen, if you don't trust me, I trust you. If you don't trust me, let's just walk away from this deal. You take control of the situation and make it a matter of trust. I'm not going to go into this deal with you if I don't trust you. And so put your shirt back on, idiot. And so you be aggressive about the idea of trust and be offended by the idea that they're going to make you want to get in a steam room for this conversation. Because if you don't trust me, I don't want to do this deal. I'll walk away before I take my shirt off for you. And see, you do that type of thing. Since then, technology has gotten better, and I probably shouldn't get into any details where you're not going to find the mic or the wire.
Oh, really?
He probably knows some damn good mics. Some DJ. He
Oh,
doesn't care about DJI.
Yeah, he don't care about none of that. He ain't using no mini mic or none of that. I mean, that's crazy.
There's probably built-in the Meta glasses. Probably one.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
I can't get into that.
Yeah.
But bottom line is you're not going to find the mic anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Because
crazy.
that's like the one thing you see about in movies is like they always catch the guy, and it's by like taking their shirt off and they got all the mics right there,
Yeah.
and it's like
No, I mean that was a thing.
know.
That was a reality until probably the 21st century.
I know you said that you work mostly in like financial crimes and stuff like that. What's the most amount of cash that you've seen at one time?
I had a client here in Florida, a rich guy who had a safe in his house, and he had $1 million in gold in that safe, in 1 ounce gold maple leaf coins, and $1 million. And his house was under renovation, and someone, at night, broke into the house and stole the entire safe and took it away, and he was. Client's missing $1 million, like one of these guys who's like prepping for doomsday, right? He's got the gold there just in case society collapses, and the police were doing nothing, and so he hired me to see if I could find out who stole his gold. And so I began hitting the streets, interviewed all the construction workers who were coming and going.
Do they know that you're a special agent?
I was not a special agent. I was a private investigator. I'm charging this guy a small fortune for this.
Sure.
And so we. So went through that process, and then I started canvassing all the cash for gold shops and the pawn shops within like a 50-mile radius of the guy's house, basically handing out my business card, handing out flyers. Eventually a gold shop calls and says, hey, we had a weird one the other day, because a woman came in on Saturday selling these gold nuggets to us, and they were 14-karat gold, and we paid her for them. And I asked, what's the deal with the nuggets? She goes, oh, they used to be 1 ounce gold maple leaf coins. And there's no reason, boys, why anyone would melt down a perfectly good coin into a disgusting little nugget.
Yeah.
And I need her name. So it gives me her name, look into her husband. While during the transaction, she was on the phone with her husband. And so I go to her husband and kind of brace him, and I kind of put a little pressure on him. And he told me that he was unloading gold for a friend of his who had broken into a house in the middle of the night and found a safe and stole the entire safe. I mean, he described the crime perfectly.
How big is a safe that would have that much gold in it? Is it like
I know this is annoying because no one can see this on
No, you're
TV,
fine.
but about the size of your file cabinet there.
okay, so like a mini fridge type of deal?
Yeah, but heavy. Gold's heavy,
Yeah,
right?
sure,
In
yeah.
fact, the person who stole it, it dropped it, and it like tumbled like dice down the stairs.
And so did the guy have cameras in his house or
Nothing.
whatever?
No,
Really?
No.
God, you would think if
I
you
know.
got...
I mean, trust me, he didn't need me to kick him when
Sure,
he's down, right?
sure,
he was
yeah.
kicking himself. This is so stupid. How could I be so stupid? So I find out who stole the gold, and I make a decision. I go to the guy's house at 7:30 in the morning. I wake him up. I sit him down. I have a long conversation with him about the wisdom of returning this gold, and he'd spent a lot of it already, $200,000 or so, and I was tracking his expenditures. And then the next day, and so I tell him he goes, I need time. And I go, okay. And I go, maybe you call me tomorrow. Next day, I get a call from a private investigator. He goes, Tom, my name's also Tom. I'm a private investigator. A client has hired me to give you something you need. Can you meet me at my office at 7 o'clock this morning? He was calling me at like 6 a.m. I go, on my way. So I go to this private investigator's office, shake hands. We're in the same industry. He reaches out behind his desk, pulls out a duffel bag with $800,000 in gold in it, which I bring back to my client.
And then you report that guy to the FBI?
No.
The burglar? Oh,
No,
really?
It's not a federal crime.
Stealing $1 million worth of gold from someone's house?
Federal crimes are either interstate or we don't do burglary cases. No.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
In
Wow.
theory, at some point I had a conversation with the police department, the sheriff's department in their town, and they're like, we can't prove that he's the guy who stole it. We can't prove this. We can't prove that. I go, that's okay.
I bet that guy's got a Ring camera now. Goodness gracious.
Right?
That's the perfect life.
But I got the money back for him, and so I had
Yeah.
a very pleased client. Although he kind of vacillated between super happy that I got him $800,000 back and super pissed that $200,000 is missing.
How are you going to be mad, though? I
Yeah.
mean, it's like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's got to be really fulfilling, though, for you. When
It was a good day.
Yeah, definitely.
It was a good day, and he paid me a bonus, so that was a great day.
Oh, yeah, for sure. In gold?
Sadly, he did give me. There was some silver. He gave me a silver coin, so it was like $200. Gold would have been great because they're like $4,000
Right
per
now,
ounce.
that's what I was going to say. Especially, but you said
Yeah.
$1 million. It's probably, I don't know when that story
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
but
It was
now
a
it's
few
probably
years
even
ago.
more.
Yeah.
For sure.
But you're a father, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you see all types of crazy stuff. Kids nowadays, have the world at their fingertips with phones and social media and stuff. Is there anything out there to other parents that you may see with your kind of background
Yeah.
that kids
Yeah.
should kind of stay away from, or parents should keep their away from?
I get a dozen messages on TikTok a week from young kids who are victims of sextortion. Here's how it works. They meet a pretty girl on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever. They get talking to them. Next thing you know, the girl's asking for pictures of their private parts. Usually it's got boys in exchange for naked pictures of her. They make the exchange, and then the mask comes off. And the guy's like, okay, listen, I got pictures of you naked right now. I have all your friends downloaded off of TikTok. I know what school you went to because you told me when you thought I was a little girl. You're going to start sending me money via Bitcoin. And it's terrifying for these kids. And there have been a lot of kids who've done acts of irreversible self-harm to themselves because they're so scared of it. So I do a lot of counseling. I don't charge anybody for this, of young people who are being victims of sextortion. And it's not my job they know that this was a dumb thing to do and they ought not to be sending pictures of their private parts. Because listen, we're all adults here. If you meet a girl online and she's asking for a picture of your junk, she's probably a dude who's trying to rip you off. Women
Sure.
just aren't into that the way you and I are. We all want to see a naked girls. Girls aren't that excited about our parts.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is.
Sure, yeah.
Right? No matter how
makes a good
impressive your parts are. So there's a teachable moment there for the young people. It is not my job to scold them. But what I advise them on, and I go, listen, and I go, the thing to do, first of all, don't pay them. Anytime you're being extorted by anyone, do not pay them because they will not stop shaking you down for money until they've bled you dry. Okay, so don't pay them a penny. The only thing you can do at that point is to freeze them out altogether and do not have any contact with them, block them, report them to the social media platform. Don't give that, and every time they call from a different number, you block that number. Let them think you died in your sleep, because they don't really care about ruining your life and notifying your family members. They just want to bleed you for money. And you're not the only person they're doing this to. They're doing this to thousands of people at a time, right? They're like fishermen out there just casting a very wide net. And so I advise the young people to not engage whatsoever with them and hope for the best. And if somehow they do send a picture to your mom, say it was AI or whatever, or Photoshop.
Sure.
And I go, but don't worry about things that are out of your control. Worry about the things that are in your control. And the best defense on that thing is to shut them out altogether. Do not negotiate or engage with them whatsoever.
Where do you see
and
that?
I think
goes
parents
down?
need to have conversations with their kids about this phenomena.
That I've heard all about it. So as soon as you brought it up, I was like, exactly. But
And it's, the number of kids offing themselves every year based on the embarrassment of this and the idea that this is going to stop them from getting into Florida State is astronomically high. It's just too high. And so we need to educate kids about not sending pictures of your junk to strangers you meet on the internet, but also this freeze out method, because the vast majority of them contact me a couple days later and says, I haven't heard from anything. Haven't heard from anybody in 2 days. Is this over? And I go, yeah, it's over. They're not going to embarrass you. They're not going to send your stuff out.
I mean, truthfully, it's like the perfect scam though, because I'd do anything to get, if
Oh
I
no,
was in
for
the same
sure. If that's
situation. So
if
it's like-
that's the threat, is that you're gonna have your
God,
junk put
people are
everywhere.
so-
Especially if I had a small ass cock like you. I mean,
I know.
Ooh, good lord, dude, I would be torn up.
I know.
I'd be torn up.
That is so funny.
No, but that is crazy. Like that, I could see how that would totally turn.
And
someone's
the
life
age doesn't
upside
matter.
down,
It
bro.
could be, underage. It could be.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they target a lot of teenagers.
It's sickening.
vulnerable. The vulnerable
Yeah.
people are the ones that are. Gonna
Yeah, I
be
mean, senior
like,
citizens get targeted in very different scams, but the sextortion is nearly always high school and college kids.
Yep.
Wow. It's
on
crazy how
socials.
big like a lot of the fraud and stuff like that is going. Have you ever a couple of theories that I've heard, just because you're a specialist in this area, I don't know if you've heard of any of them, but like, the mattress store theory, where it's like you see all these mattress stores, but no one's ever in a mattress store. And
Money
no one
laundering.
goes no one goes to a store to buy a mattress. Like let's be honest, like nowadays everyone's buying a mattress on Amazon, but like 2 new mattress firms just
Yeah.
opened up at the beaches, and you're like, really? Like you need 2 mattress firms out here, And I see those a lot, and I've actually kind of gone down that rabbit hole of like, are mattress stores like really just some money laundering? And do you
I
see
doubt
any
it.
of that?
I think that the margins on mattresses are good enough that you don't have to sell a lot to make money. Everyone thinks everybody thinks every failed business out there is a money laundering operation. But remember what money laundering is. If I get calls all the time saying like, this barbershop's got to be a money laundering operation. I go, okay, well, what crime are they committing? They go, well, money laundering. I go, no. Money laundering means that they're committing some crime that's generating a ton of cash, and they need to somehow take that cash and put it into a legitimate looking business so they could claim it as revenue and create the illusion that it's revenue of this company. I go, so if you can figure out, we're not going to ever make a money laundering case against your mattress store or the dead barber shop unless we can figure out what they call the SUA, the specified unlawful activity that's producing the money for them to launder. And
Gotcha.
I just don't think that there's that much cash being generated in Jack's Beach from selling weed on the street corner.
So
or
it would be
whatever.
somewhere local to that business essentially, because
Yeah, why wouldn't, there's no way that somebody in New York is going to go to the trouble of making a ton of money selling H or meth or something like that, and then shipping the money down to a mattress store. And who's going to believe that the mattress store is pulling in $50,000 a week?
Did you have to learn a ton of lingo, like street lingo, to get?
Yeah, does it show that I'm really street?
Well, now I'm not thinking he's a cop anymore. He's using but
Yeah.
I just wonder because for. I mean, I wouldn't even know the first thing. We would be so out so quick. I mean, obviously we don't have the training, but you gotta. These people really are if you're raised in a certain part of town, you have these different attributes and way you speak and different things where it's these are built over time.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of get the lingo of the streets when you're an FBI agent from 2 ways. One is the informant that you're working, right? Because I talked about we all have our intelligence base of people who are maybe low-level dope dealers or just involved in scams or this or that in the community, and they're going to talk the way they talk, and you got to be able to understand and communicate with them.
Sure.
But there's no one wants to hear a square like me talking street, so you don't fake it like that. But the other thing is wiretaps, right? We wiretap a lot of people, and they need bodies like me to sit on those wiretaps and listen to the dope deals going down and listen to the gangbangers talking to each other and in whatever their ethnic vernacular is, whether they're African Americans or Mexicans or Iranians or whatever. And then you're sitting there for an 8-hour shift listening to someone talk on the phone. You need to be able to create a log of what they're saying,
Sure.
and eventually the lingo sort of sticks.
That's true. I didn't even think about that really. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
Not that I'm Mr. Street,
Right?
and also
We know, Tom.
I know. But also, I want to specify because I'm making myself seem like the ultimate undercover brother. The vast majority of the undercover assignments, I was playing Tom, the rich guy who's going to be investing a lot of daddy's money with a con artist.
Gotcha.
Right? So,
That makes
sense.
You fit the mold.
The undercover where I got my head shaved, that was a real anomaly. The undercover where I was a homeless guy, a real anomaly. Most of the time, I was like Tom the banker guy, or
Gotcha,
Tom the
yeah,
money
yeah.
launderer guy, or Tom the investor, and stuff like that. So I don't want to lie to your fans that I'm like Donnie Brasco.
How does one become an FBI informant, and what is the benefit of being an FBI informant? Let's say say I'm a guy out there on the streets, bro, and like you guys approach me to like be an informant, however that process goes, and like there's got to be some kind of like win for me to join the bad guys essentially in their situation.
So FBI, and I would say every FBI informant has their own motivators, their own motivation. Some people are doing it because they've gotten themselves in trouble and they're looking for either not be charged or a reduction in their sentence. I would argue those are the worst informants because they're not really self-starters, right? They don't want to be informants. They feel that they're having to do it at the tip of a sword, and think of every job you had to do at the tip of a sword and ask yourself if you worked really hard at it.
Sure, yeah.
Right? Some informants are getting paid. I had a really good informant who I put on a payment plan where he was making a good bit of money every month just for providing me with the information that I needed to from the people that he knew. That was good. I had an informant when I was a young person who was a patriot. He was like I needed somebody to tell me what cars were coming and going from this house. There was no tree or phone pole for me to put a camera up in. And in the street, it was a residential street, so I couldn't just like sit there in a van, like peeing in a Gatorade bottle for 8 hours a day. It would just be obvious. And so I found the old man across the street sitting there watching Price is Right, drinking bourbon, who'd been in the Navy years ago, and asked him if he'd be willing to go back to work for his nation. All he needed to do was swivel his chair around and write down the license plates, the date and the time of cars that were arriving at this house across the street. They were doing a credit card fraud. And then every week I would go by and pick up the log. He would have been offended if I tried to give him $50 or $100 for his efforts. He loved the idea of Uncle Sam needing his service again. This is a guy who had
is beautiful.
This is a guy who had his flags up, had all his license plates were the veteran license plates. I'm a veteran, blah 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 blah. And now he was able to kind of get back in the game.
He was doing it for the love of the game, baby.
Love of the game. He was a patriot. Yeah. And so once you start studying people and trying to use empathy, and I don't mean that like sympathy, I mean that like seeing the world through their eyes, you could try to understand what motivates them. And if you can understand what motivates people, they'll work hard for you. And if they're bad guys, they'll confess to you.
True. Wow, that's a really good point.
Have you ever heard of prediction markets, like the Poly Market and Kalshi and stuff? Let's say I were to go to the Jumbo Shrimp game tonight and put money that there's going to be a streaker. Is that considered like fraud?
Oh, and then you run across the field naked?
Yeah, I would do that, you know? But like, how does that work? Because I know prediction markets have gotten really big and like things are getting more predictable with AI and stuff like that.
I don't think the law and investigations have caught up to that. It's funny. I was just on a game show on ABC television called The Greatest Average American.
Really?
It's on Hulu now, episode 8.
Okay. We're going to go watch this. That's sick. That's awesome.
And I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement about what happened in the game. Because it was kind of a big deal, right? Yeah, you could win $84,000 if you won this game for one, on the show. And so I had friends, we talk about it. I have a walking group, a rucking group. We put on heavy backpacks, we go walking.
Sure.
I had a friend who said, hey, listen, what if I were to go on Kashi or Poly Market and set up a bet for who wins this episode? And does this guy win the money? Because you and I could split it. I go, you do whatever you want. I'm not going to violate my non-disclosure agreement.
True,
But there was a guy in the military who placed a bet on the capture of the president of Venezuela, and he made a bunch of money, and he's been charged with a crime.
Because he has
which is different than running across the Jumbo Shrimp Stadium with your dick out.
Sure, yeah.
But so the law, this is such a new thing in society that the law hasn't really caught up to it. And I think the FBI is kind of mostly hands off and sort of playing let the buyer beware. But insider trading is a real thing. So I think that's going to probably end up kind of those type of investigations are going to spread out into the Poly Market and the Kalshi world.
The guy that did the streaking 3 times in the row these past 3 Super Bowls, he's got a TikTok page, whole following because he's streaked for these games and made these margins that are ridiculous. I think at some point it's got to be
betting on himself, or is he got sponsors?
Well, it's like a Poly Market Kalshi type deal where is there going to be a streaker for the Super Bowl? It's been just straight up. Will somebody be streaking at the Super Bowl? And he was the streaker himself and has turned profits into it and kind of casted it to his audience. And I'm like,
I don't think it's a crime.
Good.
Honestly,
because you're going to get charged of the crime of streaking, so that might be the crime. Is like you're going to because the guy
but that's a local crime. But you're talking like is this a fraud? And let's define fraud. Fraud is theft by deception. It means you're lying to someone to separate them from their money. No one is being lied to here. Right? And anyone dumb enough to take that bet deserves what they get.
Yep.
Right? Like people are betting on Survivor the TV show, on who's going to win. There's probably 1,000 people in the cast and crew and editing and at the network who know goddamn well who wins that show, who have the ability to make money. Anyone who bets on a historic event is a moron.
That's crazy.
Yeah, true.
There's an old joke. Guy sitting at a bar at 10 o'clock. They're watching the news at the bar. There's a drunk next to him. There's a guy on the ledge. He's getting ready to jump off and kill himself. And one guy looks at the other and goes, bet you $100 he jumps and kills himself. The guy goes, I'll take that bet. They're watching the TV. Guy jumps off, kills himself. Just as he's handing the $100, he goes, listen, I feel bad. I got to tell you, I saw this at the 6 o'clock news tonight. It happened earlier in the day. The other guy goes, I did too. I didn't know you would do it again.
It's funny that you say that, because we had an instance like that happen where we saw somebody, and my dad it was the overpass. I forgot where it was, but we both were like, God, you think he jumped off? Got home, news, dude jumped off, and it's like.
It's a couple years
totally
ago, like 18 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like the Blue Bridge, right?
Yep.
The Main Street.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yep.
So wait, you can jump off the Main Street Bridge and die? Because we had a guest on that did it for a movie. They jumped off the Main Street Bridge. And
I think it depends how you land.
Yeah, probably, I guess.
Right? Like you do a belly flop on that thing.
It just doesn't seem that big. I mean, it's like, yeah, I get it, but maybe he did it while it was up.
What does a FBI special agent like to do on his free time now that he's retired?
Well, again, I'm retired from the FBI, but I don't feel retired, right?
That's true.
And so I investigate frauds mostly for clients, and when I have downtime, I try to up my social media presence so I could bring more people in. I got a lot of followers now on social media who tune in to Instagram and TikTok at Simon Investigations. Please follow me, fans.
Yeah, please do, because it's a really interesting page. Like, a lot of the stories you share are so interesting, man.
Yeah.
Like, I really get stuck in the rabbit hole. How did you grow that following to, well, you're like 400-something thousand followers or something right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's 300-something on Instagram, 100,000 something on TikTok, 25,000 on YouTube, YouTube, and then you got Facebook, and then you go on LinkedIn, which has some followers. And
are these just from sharing your experiences and sharing stories that you know?
Yeah, pretty much. And I do a lot of shows like this where I tell stories and I try to harvest those clips and put them up there. But for me, it's marketing, right? No one wants to see me dance with my shirt off,
exactly,
right? And
sure.
so to me, the idea, I could go on social media and say, please hire me, or I can tell crime stories from my career and the cases that other FBI agents work in without even mentioning what I do for a living other than in the title. And then when people need help, maybe they call me.
Gotcha, I see.
But from that, though, there's been revenue, right? I have sponsored content deals now. I get invited to do game shows. I'm on the public speaking circuit now. I go out and give keynote speeches at big conferences for good money, kind of talking about how you can use FBI behavioral science techniques for business and personal success.
Wow.
Working on getting a book deal. So I'm trying to kind of level up a lot of the streams of income in various ways. So if the investigations fall apart for whatever reason, I still have speaking revenue. I still have social media sponsorship deals and stuff like that.
Did you do any investigative work on me and Hayden before you came on the show?
I'm just a fan of your show.
Really?
Because
I always wonder, like, you know,
I was
like,
worried. I was like, he's going to come.
Well, because he was kind of saying, like, but like while he was telling one of the stories, that like you have access to like all these different, things to see.
I have databases. Yeah. So what happens is when I left the FBI, I left all those great databases behind. So I started like scouring the globe for the best databases available for licensed private investigators who were once FBI agents to serve as the engine of my agency, to do background checks on people and to know what license plate someone has, or, does this guy have a domestic violence background that I could tell a client so she can not get in the trunk of his car or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I have those. I spend a fortune on those. But I learned long ago that when you meet new friends, you're really stealing from yourself to do a lot of investigation on them, because it's much better to get to know someone organically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I wasn't worried about you guys murdering me.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of your show, so
I appreciate that.
But there's no real reason for me to like do a proctology exam on you before coming to talk in your
It was
orange room.
funny because I've actually made this mistake. I interviewed still one of my like favorite interviews I've ever done was with like one of my idols, Seti Hendrix. I'd been listening to him for such a long time, and I thought I'd never get him on the show. I used to joke around that if I ever got Seti Hendrix on, I'd quit. And then 26 came around, and we like episode 26, and we got Seti on, and I did so much research for that episode that it almost killed the conversation because I knew everything about him already.
Yeah.
And I watched every interview he did. And like a lot of the questions I would ask were very deep because it was like, you know, I was able to reference a quote that he had on someone else's show 3 years ago or whatever it was. And what I found was I wasn't curious about his life. I was almost just like clip farming because I was like,
right, I don't even know who that guy is. So had I watched that show and I didn't have the opportunity to kind of learn the basics, I mean, your fans don't know who the hell I am. So starting out the conversation with who are you and what are you all about is useful to them. And you having all that information in your head right now may actually impede you having a successful media interview.
100%, and that's exactly what it did.
That's the beauty of our show is that we just kind of go into it with an open mind and just like.
Well, you guys are so good at like just sort of being conversational,
you.
making your guests feel comfortable, riffing with each other. I'm such a fanboy of what you do.
I appreciate that. Seriously, I mean, I'm slowly becoming a fanboy of what you do. Literally, like
it's cool because I found you organically, and like he had told me, he was like, "Hey, we might have this guy coming on," and I was like, "Funny." I already been following him, and I don't even think it was on Instagram because I just followed you on Instagram a couple of days ago, but I think it was on TikTok, and I was like, oh dang, like it's cool finding local talent and people that you don't think are local talent, and you end up finding them organically, and then come to find out we're interviewing them the next week, which is super cool.
I had a feeling he might be a scam when he first reached out to us.
It did take you a long time to get back to me. I'm used to people being a little more snappy.
I do that so bad all the time because I don't go through requests at all, and so like I
reached out to your podcast, Instagram again. Fans, I'm such a fan of these guys that they didn't come to me and say, hey, will you please be on our show? I came to them saying, please have me on. He's like, what do you want to talk about? I go, anything. I'm such a fan. I want to be on the show. I've never done that before.
Really? And I was so honored that you did that because your message.
But then I send it to your podcast and nobody responds. I'm like, F
you
those
reached out
guys.
I go,
all right, I'm going to reach out for Nick Usher personally, and then if that doesn't work, I'm going to show up at his house.
Right?
I mean, you probably know where I live and everything. But yeah, it was funny. Your message was so like professional. Like usually a lot of the messages we'll get from people is like trying to have me on. You know what I mean? Or like whatever. And it's like so like I don't even know you. I don't even know like by your page I can't even
I don't remember what I said. I just sort of introduced myself.
Yeah,
right?
it was just like you just introduced yourself and you were just like a kind person. I went through your page and you had a bunch of followers and I was like, something ain't right here. And then once we started talking, I was like, oh no, he's a genuine dude. And then I started following you and I was like, wow, he's actually really like active in the community and stuff. And I was like, this is a real human, you know, which was cool because dude, nowadays
for better or worse,
with social media, you can't.
Oh, I know.
You can't trust anything.
Listen, go on to TikTok sometime and type in Simon Investigations. There's about 30 of them. Only one of them's me. And all of them have my photo on it. And every time I report the fake versions of me, TikTok says no violation.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
And I get people calling me every week saying, hey, listen, I've been talking to you. I just sent you a bunch of money on Telegram because of this crypto scam I got ripped off. I'm wondering when you're going to start working on it. I go, I'm not on Telegram. I didn't get any money. I never heard from you. People out there, because I have a sizable social media presence and I'm a high-profile investigator, pretend to be me and use my photo to rip off other people.
If there's one person that I would trust to not rip me off, it's an ex-FBI guy.
Well, then I think that's what people think. And
funny.
So
wow.
I get tons of calls. I mean, a couple times a week, people call me who had been ripped off, or they were about to send money to me, and that. But I felt a little weird about it, so I just wanted to give you a call through your website, which is real, obviously my number. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad you contacted me before you sent the money. That's not me. I don't work that way.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
How do you feel about like the status of the FBI now? Like I know there's been so many changes and stuff, and like obviously Kash Patel is in there, and he gets like some people love him, some people hate him. It's like back and forth. But like, how do you feel about the status of the FBI?
Okay, so let's talk about the FBI. The FBI, to me, the real FBI are the 13,000 FBI agents working in the 55 field offices, busting their ass, getting off their rear ends, knocking on doors every day, making cases, keeping you and I safe. I was an FBI agent for 26 years doing exactly that. It never mattered one iota to me who the FBI director was and who the president was. I keep my head down. I work my cases. I answer to the special agent in charge in Jacksonville or Chicago or Honolulu or wherever I was. There's a whole other ecosystem in Washington, D.C., which is FBI headquarters. And thank God no cases are investigated out of FBI headquarters. They handle the budgets and the administration and things like that. That's where the FBI director is. And the current FBI director is a clown. And he's corrupt and does a lot of real bad stuff. He's done some good stuff, and I'll give him credit where credit is due. But his activity and his buffoonery has nothing to do with the FBI agents in the field. And all 13,000 of them feel that he is a buffoon and want him to be fired because he's embarrassing, but he doesn't impact their day-to-day life on investigations.
Sure.
He does impact the reputation of the FBI and has made it incredibly hard for FBI just to go knock on someone's door and convince a stranger to let me in, sit down, and let's talk about this case I'm investigating, because they're worried that the buffoonery we see from the director is somehow bleeding over to the field, but it's not.
Wow.
I served under 5 different directors, probably 5 different presidents. It never mattered to me one iota who they were.
And so, like, yeah, because Kash Patel, he's not like you guys aren't a reflection of like his actions or whatever,
No.
but in the way, like the average person, that's all they know about FBI is Kash Patel.
He's the face of the FBI,
Yeah.
and that's a problem, but it doesn't impact the day-to-day life or the integrity of the agents in the field working investigations.
Yeah.
When you were an FBI agent, were you allowed to just openly tell people I'm an FBI agent, or were you kind of like reserved?
Well,
with
obviously
that
not
title?
when you're undercover, but other than that,
Sure,
yeah. Every FBI agent sort of gets to do their own risk assessment on that. I was also on TV a lot as an FBI agent, right? When they needed somebody to go on television to do a press conference, or if they were going on the show American Greed or America's Most Wanted or one of those shows, I was often the guy they push in front. So it would be really weird for me to
hide it.
To tell my next door neighbor that I'm like an accountant at the local accounting firm, and then he turns on the TV that night, and see, it's just sort of a bad.
Yeah.
You're getting off to the wrong first step. In fact,
Sure.
short story. In 1997, I started competitively boxing in Chicago. Joined a boxing gym, kind of fell in with a group of guys, and we would just every night of the week we would work out boxing and go live sparring with each other, and do kind of Golden Glove style matches in Chicago and all that. I was a brand new agent at the time. I became an agent in '95, so I'd been an agent about 2 years. And these were some rough characters, right? They look like you. They had tattoos on the arms.
Sure,
and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
They were scary looking dudes.
Not a cop, is what you're saying.
Right. And I was maybe a little bit of a snob. And I thought that these guys, because they had tattoos and it's a boxing gym and they were kind of rough characters, that they wouldn't like me. And so I lied to them and told them that, I was just an accountant, which wasn't a lie. I had an accounting degree.
Sure.
But then over 3 years of boxing with these guys, they became my friends. And I never, ever told them the truth about who I was or what I did for a living. And they're telling me about the troubles with their wives, their kids, and things like that. And we became friends. We would spend time socially together. We'd go out to dinner and stuff like that. And I felt like shit for 3 years, having lied to my boxing friends about what I did for a living. And I never had the courage to kind of tell them the truth because I thought they would judge me. But it really stopped our friendships to going to that next level where you're honest with them. So I wasn't undercover. I was just I just had a fake job that nobody wanted to know about my accounting jobs.
Yeah. True.
But that taught me a valuable lesson that that maybe the jerk off sitting next to you on the plane who says, "What do you do for a living?" He doesn't get to know. But anyone who you're going to have more than 2 or 3 meetings with and have any kind of relationship, like if it's another parent at your kid's school or whatnot, be honest with them.
Yeah.
There's no reason to lie to that guy.
Yeah.
Especially
And honestly,
with,
being sort of a forward-leaning, out there FBI agent brought a lot of cases my way because people would come to me with with fraud cases and tips and ideas for informants and stuff like that. So,
did you ever see crime like while you're not? And let's say you're not on this case to investigate something or whatever, but you're just at the boxing gym and you see some crime going on. Are you required to report that crime or at least investigate that crime, or are you?
I guess it depends on the crime. Like if someone's smoking weed, I don't care.
Sure, yeah.
It's not my problem.
Maybe someone's like if you were at the gym and you saw that, people were selling drugs, hard drugs out of the gym or something, like, but
it never
not
happened,
necessarily
so
would you, but like, would you be required to?
No,
like, from the FBI?
no, there's no requirement to rat out your friends and family, but I guess it depends on the severity of the crime. Is this a victimless crime, like someone using weed, or is am I covering up for a serial killer in your hypothetical? It never happened, so it doesn't
Well,
really
because like
matter.
I always wonder, obviously a family member or someone would be so stupid to even let you witness a crime like that because they know what your job is. But like, if a cousin of yours or something did something stupid and you they're doing a crime and you're the agent, it's like obviously they wouldn't put you on that case, obviously. But
no, you have a conflict of interest immediately. Like there were definitely cases that I was conflicted out of because of I knew somebody or whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And you just don't want anything to do with that case, and so there's never that. So that moral dilemma never happens.
True.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, man,
I have so many questions. I have to stop myself.
Have me back.
I know.
Have me back every week. I love your
would
show.
love to.
I'm such a fan.
Tom, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much for
Seriously,
having me.
man. And I know the fans are loving this one. This is one of my favorite conversations that we've ever had. You're an incredible speaker. I cannot thank you enough for just coming on here and sharing these stories and like just being so open about this profession and whatever. Obviously, it's near and dear to me just because my grandpa went through all this. And as a kid, he used to tell me his stories and whatever. And
Well, thanks for having me. Can I plug my social media?
of course, please plug everything.
Hey,
That's what I was
if you
gonna
could
say.
follow me on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you use social media, it's at Simon Investigations. I will also say that any OG Sessions person who needs a private investigator, I do free consultations. I work in all 50 states, and I will always make time for your referrals. Lastly, if you are part of a group or organization or company that brings in outside speakers, I'm on the keynote speaking circuit right now. I have a speech about using FBI behavioral science techniques for business and personal success that can be used for sales training, management training, or just to make your employees better people. So hit me up, simoninvestigations.com, and thanks so much for having me on.
Simon, pleasure's ours, man. Seriously.
Be cool, guys.
Yeah, this is awesome. So, OGs, if you guys enjoyed this episode, smash that subscribe button for the boys, man.
Smash it.
Smash that like button. Smash that comment button. You know what I was saying? But seriously, thank you so much, Tom, for coming on the show.
I'm so happy to be
Incredible
here.
honor.
It's a
Seriously.
big deal for me.
So we'll see y'all next week. This is OG Sessions Podcast. Boys, we are out.